Eugene Fields Elementary School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was the very first school garden I ever came to in my position, and that was in fall of 2008. And I was so impressed. I've been talking about this program at every national conference I talk at, and now I see they've expanded, so I'm like extremely thrilled. So today we have Jenny Yoder, and she is the garden coordinator here. So she's going to kind of walk us through the history of how all this started and the difference between the classroom gardens and the after-school gardens, what they do with all their produce and their flowers and stuff. So she'll just kind of walk us through, and we'll ask questions as we go.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to have you here. So Global Gardens, the idea started, long before an actual garden was built. So a woman named Heather Oakley was a Tulsa native. She was going to school for a master's degree in science education and peace studies. So while she was there, she was learning all of these best practices for engaging students in science education while also teaching at a public school in Harlem and the UN School for Diplomats' Children. So she was learning all of this and seeing extreme disengagement in her students. And she was also seeing the disparity of how students in Harlem were treated and students, children of diplomats who were treated as though they're the future of the world and they're going to be leaders and they're so capable and have so much potential. Whereas the students in Harlem just weren't really treated with that kind of empowerment or faith in their potential. So she saw all of this and is dreaming about, what can I create a space for kids that will engage them in curiosity and learning, and help them to realize that they are capable. And so she knew, with her history in gardening, she had a lot of knowledge about botany. She knew all of that could happen in a garden. So she came back to Tulsa and connected with the principal here at Eugene Field Elementary. Wanted to ask students if they wanted to start a garden at their school, and there was a lot of interest, and so she started in January of 2007. So this was just an empty lot next to the school that no one was using. So they dug into the ground and created their first gardens, and that's how Global Gardens was born.
And then how does the funding and all that work?
Oh, okay, sure. So this was the very first site. After a few years, lots of different schools were contacting us wanting Global Gardens at their school. So now we have 5 main sites and then several smaller alliance sites which have pieces of Global Gardens programming all across Tulsa and Broken Arrow. So a lot of people think because we work closely with schools that we're funded by the school system, but we aren't. We're actually 100% community funded. So grants and individual donors keep us running because they have seen what we do and believe that we are making a positive impact in their community. So we love our donors. And we're just really thankful to have been able to expand the way that we have and that people really value our program. So we have 3 main components to Global Gardens. We have a during school program, after school programs, and family food farm. So with our during school programs, we meet with every class in the school about an hour a week for Global Gardens time. Each class gets their own garden space where they're making all of the decisions as a class. So they are choosing what to plant, what they want to do with what they plant. We also emphasize garden theming, where they actually choose a theme for their garden and then create art or different things and even choose plants that represent that theme. And then we make sure to have a seed to plate experience with every student, typically once a semester. So that means we are planting the seed, caring for the plant, harvesting as a class, and then preparing something from that harvest as a class and eating it together. So we emphasize science education. So our goal is to support science standards for teachers during that time, while also focusing on garden science, increasing curiosity and engagement in learning, teamwork, and then of course the nutritional experience of tasting a new vegetable. So we eat lots of wild foods in Global Gardens that a lot of kids have never seen or heard of, like radishes, kale, kohlrabi, Swiss chard, things where they might be a little bit nervous, but very, very frequently, if kids can work up the bravery to taste things, they're shocked how good it is or how not terrible it is, and oftentimes are wanting seconds and thirds. So we love giving kids an opportunity to taste new foods and healthy foods in a really positive context where it's exciting, they've been involved the whole time, and we find that they're not only willing but excited to taste new things. So frequently when we're trying new foods, kids are excited to go home and try to make the recipe with their families. A lot of students in the area live in apartments where there isn't a lot of green space or gardens around, but they'll maybe grow something on their balcony or in the neighborhood. If they live in a house, a lot of kids do garden, so it's exciting to expose them to new plants, and maybe they'll get excited to do that at home. So over here we have our after-school gardens. With our after-school program, it's a smaller group of students. In a typical year, it's 2 groups of 20 students. They meet 4 hours a week after school, and the emphasis here is peace education and student empowerment. So we know that our students are powerful change agents for their communities, not only for when they grow up and become adults, but even now as children. We know they have so much to offer the world and their communities, and so part of the after-school program is helping them to see that. And in a garden, we know there's all kinds of challenges. There can be disappointments, failures, there's lots of experimenting, there's things out of your control that you need to adapt to. There's things always changing, and so we know that the traits of a good gardener are really life skills that you need to be successful in life. So Heather knew that the garden was a perfect place to learn those things, and even to learn peace and balance, harmonizing, everything kind of working together and playing a part, just like we are as people in any community we're in. So in after-school program, students earn their own garden plot, and we work together to decide what kinds of things are needed to earn your garden. So things like participating when we're sharing as a group, taking care of supplies and tools, helping others in the program, and these are things that show that you're ready to take care of your own garden. So once a student has a space that's their own, they're making all of the decisions. So they're determining a theme for their garden, similarly to during school. But because we have so much time and freedom in after school, kids can build things, they can create wooden signs or paint bricks or bring things from home, design something new, and really make the space their own and something that reflects them as a person. They're also choosing everything they plant, they are taking care of their garden, and then when they harvest it, they can do whatever they want with it. So we encourage students to take home their harvest to share with their families, but we also do a lot of cooking in after-school program. So, between once every 2 weeks, we are cooking together, typically something that the students are interested in making or tasting. Like I said, we cook together. Students are learning knife safety and kitchen safety. They're learning how to read a recipe. They're learning kind of about different spices and different cultures and different cuisines. And we kind of bring this all together to eat from the garden. While the school year ends in May, Global Gardens actually is a year-round program. So in the summertime, we meet with students for even longer. It's typically 16 hours a week. So that's some really intensive Global Gardens time. We can take field trips to farms and do lots and lots of cooking, lots and lots of gardening. And everybody knows the best time to garden in Oklahoma is the summer. So there's lots of harvesting and taking lots of food home, which is awesome. So the third element of Global Gardens is Family Food Farm. And Family Food Farm was started because we were making all this progress with students and healthy eating and peace and learning about science, and then realized that we could include the whole family and make a much bigger impact. So, kids aren't always given a choice what they eat for dinner, but parents are. So we have families come to the garden once a week. They have their own family garden space where they're making all of the decisions again. And then each week we share a plant-based meal together. And members of Family Food Farm have shared that they feel a lot of community with their group, that they have greater access to fruits and vegetables, and that they are trying lots of new things and enjoying that peaceful time as a family. So we love Family Food Farm, and we're so happy for the families who participate. From the beginning, we've had lots of schools reach out to us wanting to partner with us, which is so exciting. We love that schools see what we're doing and want it at their site. However, of course, this huge undertaking isn't easy to replicate quickly. So there's a lot of hours, a lot of staff, a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that you can't have global gardens at your school. So we created a separate arm of our organization called the Global Gardens Alliance, where we can range from consultation with classroom teachers to even having part of our program with our Global Gardens garden educators at a site. And we're working on an online portal element too, where schools who are far away can get a piece of Global Gardens at their school. Sometimes the idea of gardening at school during a school day is overwhelming, and seeing a huge garden like this, again, can be really overwhelming. But you don't have to dive in and dig up, hundreds of square feet of bed. You can start with a little planter box or a neglected flower bed outside your school. You can Google everything you need to do. I Google probably 6 times a day, just like, what do I do about this? When I first started at Global Gardens, I really didn't know much about gardening, but through Google, through researching with my students and asking, what do you think? We became partners and could team up to learn and experiment and fail. So, the garden is a wonderful place to learn about science, and scientists try things that they think might not work, and they fail a lot, and that's not a bad thing. That's how you learn. So we treat everything here at Global Gardens as an experiment. I'm not necessarily the teacher. I am a global gardener, and we're here to learn and try and see what happens. And more times than not, if you do a little bit of research, you'll be more successful than you expect. So, search some super drought-tolerant plants that don't need a ton of babying, like kale or radishes or other stuff that grows really fast in the spring, and you might be surprised at how excited your kids are to eat some leaves. Another thing that I think is so important about a garden is that kids touch and smell and see. So this isn't supposed to be a pristine place where it's my garden and I'm showing it off to you and you're a guest and you should be so thankful that I let you in. This is their space, and so if they want to grab some mint and eat it, that's awesome. Make sure that it's something edible first. But yeah, I want them digging in the dirt. I want them picking up a bug. I want them touching things and thinking about textures, and I want them to smell stuff. So sometimes we feel like we want to protect a place from students, but kids are part of nature, and so helping them find their place in the garden can be really healing and peaceful, and they can grow a lot and kind of become better people, I think. Thank you for coming and listening. I hope something I said was helpful to you, and I hope that you're inspired.